I continually come back to General Grant. I thought he displayed extraordinary qualities. He had clarity of vision at the tactical level. He had it at the operational level, Vicksburg, and then the campaign, and then Chattanooga again. He rescued that desperate situation. And then at the strategic level, when he was the first to have a true strategy. But you get the strategy right, then you have to communicate it effectively through the breadth and depth of the organization. Now keep in mind, in those days, you wrote your own orders. There's no big staff like I had. And then you have to oversee the execution of the big ideas. You have to oversee their implementation. And then you have to determine how to refine the big ideas and then do it all over again and just keep doing it. My view is on leadership that you have to employ whatever style is appropriate to get the most out of the individuals who work directly for you, and then the most out of the organization collectively. You know, Operation Desert Storm beat up it was the fourth largest army in the world, and then in 100 hours just turned the fourth largest army into, I don't know, the 8th or 10th largest, and went home to a victory parade. I mean, a decisive victory. That's not the kinds of wars that we've been engaged in, certainly since 9/11, nor have we been engaged in many other cases since World War II. But you know, Afghanistan is now the longest war in our history. All my big ideas were exactly contrary to what the National Security Advisor of Iraq, who I knew well from a previous tour, told me in the first week. The Prime Minister was demanding what was essentially the opposite. I told the National Security Advisor, this is a sovereign country, an elected Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister wants to go in that direction, I would be very grateful if he would explain that to the President tomorrow. But he should know that if he chooses to do that, I will be on the next plane to Washington and I will take the policy with me. Because I knew if we fought for these locations that we had given up before or had lost, that the enemy's going to fight us and there are going to be higher casualties. And I knew that, and that's a tough, tough burden to bear. I remember the very first day of full command, we went out into Baghdad, into these neighborhoods that I'd known before, with huge armored escort and everything else. And it was so horrific. And I went back and actually would close the door and put my head in the desk and said, what in the world were you thinking? You know, why did you take this on? You took it on because the President asked you to take it on, but no, this is tough. I do think, by the way, that we are actually doing a bit better in Iraq than folks realize we are. The real key in Iraq, though, is once again, it's politics in Baghdad. And if there are inclusive politics practiced that can bring all the parties back to the table and have a reasonable bargain between the center and the provincial capitals and the different elements in this very fractious country, I think you can keep Iraq together. But really what we have is a strategic obligation. I mean, the Islamic State is a threat, not just to the region, not just to Europe. It's a threat to us as well. I mean, we've already seen ISIS-inspired events in the United States. They're very, very good in social media. This is a huge difference between them and Al-Qaeda. We have moral obligations in a lot of places. I don't know that you can honor every single one of them, if you see what I mean. Yes. I mean, there's a limit to what, but that catastrophic situation, I think, does demand more action, and I think, again, you have a strategic imperative to defeat ISIS.